here.
Here.
Ray, House Jones, Sly,
Present.
Stark, Mr. Chairman, yes, sir.
All right, so we'll start. The Health Committee, Health and Human Service and Arts Committee will now begin. Director?
All right. I'll bring up the whole team here. Come on up. Come on up. Commissioner, come on up. All right, I'm going to sit off to the side. You guys sit in the middle here. You know. David and I can bookend.
You know what I want? We have so much to think about in my community that we don't focus on air quality. I mean, you've got so many issues, but this right here is very, very important. Even when we were discussing at the council table about tree canopies, this is very important to understand the air quality and the vegetation for the residents and for the children as well. And how do you get to educate our children, even in the schools, about air quality is very, very important. I would love for you to come to my community meeting or the other council members' community meetings so that we can discuss the way and start getting people to think about trees and tree canopies and visit the schools, CMSD schools, talking with the children about this. Because they mainly focus on the disease. When you mention the health department, they don't put all of this in to one scope. And we have to do that so we can discuss better health. So can everybody introduce themselves? We'll
Yeah.
direct everybody to Dr.
Absolutely. So, yeah, Dave Margolis, Director of Public Health. So, with me today is our Division of Air Quality. And so, you teed it up perfectly, Chair. We have a division of approximately 40 people who are responsible for permitting, enforcement, monitoring, and outreach on air quality for the entire county, with the outreach focused on the city of Cleveland. And today they're going to talk about the work that they're doing with a big grant from the U.S. EPA to do air quality monitoring in historically red line neighborhoods. And I will add, just on terms of the teaching the kids, this team has taught my own kids air quality through a Lego building workshop that we went to in the Clark Fulton Library. So really proud of this team. So Yvette Mitchell, Christina Yoka, Commissioner David Hearn, and I'll turn it over to them to make their presentation.
All right.
Starting with Christina Yoka, Chief of Outreach for Air Quality.
Yes. Good morning. Thank you for having us today, Council. I'll start by just providing a brief overview of the Clean and CLE project. I know we've been in front of Council before.
Slow down a little bit. I'm older.
Oh.
I'm going so fast.
Sometimes I talk quickly.
You gotta swing it, man.
Yes. So, but thank you for having us this morning. I will address really quickly your question about education. I support that as well. We actually do quite a few programs where we'll go into Cleveland metropolitan schools and we'll teach either individual lessons on air quality, or we'll get students engaged in doing an air quality related project so that they can start from a point of citizen inquiry. How do you develop a question, and then how do you develop a study around that? So that's been some work that we've been doing that we have focused on outside of the Clean and CLE project. But in terms of the Clean and CLE, just as a high-level overview, there were some handouts that were given, and the top page, there is a summary of what we've done to this point. So in 2023, we received a $500,000 U.S. EPA grant to expand Cleveland's air monitoring network. The purpose of this project is to install 30 low-cost air quality sensors into neighborhoods across the city of Cleveland. The sensor that we are using for that, I did bring it with me today. This is an example of it, just so that you can see what we are utilizing. But these sensors will be installed throughout the city of Cleveland. In addition to, there you go. In addition to the 30 sensors, we also
put the sensors where?
Those are going to be installed mostly on Cleveland Public Power power poles. They do need access to electricity. So the best way, they can be battery operated, but it'd be ideal to have them plugged in. So most of them are going to go on Cleveland Public Power poles. Earlier this year, we started introducing, those are in various states of assembly as we're preparing them for deployment. But you can see that they're small, they're lightweight, and those will collect data on particulate matter. In addition to the sensors, we have a mobile monitoring shelter that will also be installed. That will have equipment that will monitor for particulate matter, for ozone, as well as nitrogen dioxide. And that's going to be a trailer that gets pulled by a vehicle, but it's going to stay in one location. So it's about 16 feet long. But it will have EPA-level equipment compared to these sensors, which are meant for more community engagement. They're meant for education, and they are still really good sensors, but they don't quite have the same accuracy as our EPA-level data. So earlier this year, we started trying to get community involved in this project. We've done a couple different ways. The first was that we established a resident advisory committee that is comprised of 6 Cleveland residents that represent different neighborhoods in the city of Cleveland. Those resident advisors, they participate in decision-making. We talk to them about what's going on with the project, and they also go out into the community to act as that liaison between us and community members. In February of this year, we also started hosting a series of community engagement meetings. So to date, we have held 12 different meetings where we have presented on Clean and CLE. These meetings also include childcare. We have language translation services available.
Where do meetings take place? Anyone know about these meetings?
Virtual, yeah. So we've been, to the chair, we've been to about 8 locations throughout the city of Cleveland, rec centers. We've been at churches. We've been at annexes of churches. We've been to Bethany. We've been to Lee Road Baptist Church. We've been to schools and Mound Elementary. We also went to the Rising down on Broadway. So we've been all over the city of Cleveland.
So we can reach out to you to come to our community meetings.
Absolutely.
Right.
So I've also been to district meetings. We've been to district meetings to share about the information as well. We're open to go wherever the people are.
Yep.
Yeah, we have you come to our community meetings. We do that.
That would be wonderful. So at the meetings, this has been an opportunity to also solicit recommendations from residents about where they think these air sensors should go. So once we started soliciting feedback from residents in February, we had an online application available. We also had hard copies where we'd give this form out to residents to submit recommendations of where they believe sensors should be placed. We have 30 sensors total. We received just over 80 recommendations of sites. So there is a map that's included in your packet, and the map does show you where the residents submitted recommendations. The blue locations, the blue, green, and red dots represent sites that were recommended to us for this project. After we had this open until about July, and then in July, we convened a selection committee to review the sensor recommendations. The selection committee included individuals and organizations that were recommended to us by the community air advisors to review the recommendations that we had received, and then they ranked them and prioritized them. So the blue dots that you'll see on the map, those are the priority locations according to the selection committee. The green dots are secondary locations, and then the red dots are the tertiary locations. So what we're in the process of doing at this point is going out and conducting a technical review of those sites to make sure that we can install the sensors. So we asked about where the sensors are going to go. The sensor has the ability to run on either electricity, like direct hardline, batteries, or it can be solar operated. Our preference is to have a plug-in site, but we didn't want that to be a limiting factor. So our monitoring team, they're conducting technical reviews of the sites to see that there is somewhere to install them. These sensors will also operate on something called LoRaWAN, which is long-range area-wide network. So it's kind of like a cellular signal. We didn't want these to be dependent on Wi-Fi because that would be another limiting factor in where it could go. So once the technical team has reviewed the locations, we'll start deploying the sensors, and we anticipate that to start over the next month. All of the data that's produced from these sensors, as well as our existing monitoring network, will be available through a data dashboard in near real time. So residents will be able to see the data that is being collected from these sensors. I think there's about a 20-minute delay on it, so it's pretty close to being near real time. And once the sensors get deployed, then we'll have that data dashboard made available so that anyone can be able to access it. And so our next steps for this project, I'm going to actually ask Yvette to lead you through the next steps for the project.
So as Christina, to the chair, as Christina has mentioned, we just came through the selection site process, and now we're moving on to something called story mapping, or SVG. It's called Spatial Geo-Narrative Videos, where we're recruiting residents right now. So all residents of the city of Cleveland are invited to participate. We're going to be doing about 14 interviews and over the next 12 months. And we're asking residents if they are most likely really interested in their neighborhood and have an air quality story to tell. We want to hear their story. They'll be able to share with us information totally anonymously. Their face won't be in the picture or the video. A video will be attached to the car as well as a GPS. And so as the people are telling their stories, we'll be collecting this information, collecting the words that they say. We'll be doing some word mapping as well. And then we'll be able to see if there's any type of stories that are overlapping, or what are people sharing. I'm in this neighborhood and I feel sick. I'm over here and I start coughing. I'm over here and I smell something. I'm over here and I see dust blowing. We want to know what people have experienced. And then we're going to compile those stories into a map and create images. And then also those images will be related to where those data points will be collected from the sensors, and we will be able to see what kind of stories evolve from both the sensor data as well as those verbal stories.
You're evaluating. That's exactly what you're doing. It's an evaluation process so that if someone on Ashbury and someone in Ward 7 of Wade Park, if they're telling the same story
Correct.
around there,
Yes.
you kind of know the issues and concerns for that area.
Yes.
So you're doing pre-testing.
Yes.
The post-testing will be, did we hit our goals and objectives?
And
to
then
change
based-
some things.
Based on their results, things could happen. So we may be doing some policy changes. We may be able to hear from residents to say, what would you like to see happen in this neighborhood? There may be some opportunities where there's some enforcement actions that need to be taken that we're unaware of. So we're excited about the data that we're going to collect and also excited about the story. So if you have somebody who's very energetic and excited and you know they know their community very well, we will take those recommendations for them to be a part of the interview process. And there's an application for that as well.
I like that. Evaluation is good. Who's going to monitor the evaluation when you do the mapping?
To the chair. So we will be recording these, and then the data that's collected will go to Case Western Reserve University through their GIS lab, and then they'll do the actual mapping of it. So they'll evaluate the data and present it back to us. So we'll have all the transcripts so that we have all that information, but Case Western Reserve University will do the actual mapping. They'll pull out all the themes. They'll be able to generate hotspot information. So they will be doing all that, and then we'll do any follow-up that comes out of it.
I have a resident that knows you, Dr. David Margolius, and I'm trying to think of her name. I was talking with her last week. So you know we're doing this hearing, but I think you're working with her, and they received a grant to do something like this. She has students, and they're dealing with environmental racism, and they're doing she's a professor. And can you think probably of this professor off the top of your head? And she's one of my residents on 108th, between 108th and Ashbury and Wade Park. Young doctor. Yes. What you on my ward for?
You've been around a long time. She's fantastic.
She's good. What's my last name? She's she's good with students, with young people.
I was really young. I called her Rhonda.
Well,
She's a professor.
she's a professor, African-American female professor, and she was calling me. She was going to come here today, but she had to talk with her department chair, so she couldn't make it. So I'll call you, Doc, and we'll talk about it. I said, yes, she know you. I got to keep my eye on you too. Yeah, she's real good and concerned about it. And her students want to reach out to talk about this issue of concern in the African American community. This is huge. This is big, you know. That Canopy grant that we got last week, that's definitely a big rock. And to have vegetation and trees and all of that for air quality, that's important. So I didn't want to take this point.
So through the chair, yes, the tree canopy is really important, but there are other, probably even more impactful interventions to improve our air quality that Christine and Yvette can speak to. In reducing.
Yvette, will you finish?
If you have other questions?
I do. You know what? For the interviews, I want to put in our newsletters, the council members' newsletters, that we can do outreach for our residents. As you know, you heard me say on the council floor, the closest, we as council members, we're very, very close. We talk with our residents every day, all the time. We walk the neighborhood. We're at community meetings. We're at the schools. And you put it in our newsletters, then we can start talking with the residents. Joan Mezzaline, reach out to her, and she'll figure out how to do it. So when you want to interview someone, they'll know the direction, as well as probably even write a story about it, so that we can see the sense of urgency in the newsletters, because our newsletters reach all of our residents and is mailed to them. So, I mean, that's what I want. And Director, you know Joan Mezzaline, right? Okay, cool. That's great. Let me ask you another question. You mentioned the newsletters. The interviews can go on with the newsletters, because you can mention that as well, how you want to interview someone. Before I get to these stoves, also, if you want to ask questions about that. When I was growing up, Councilman Richard Starr, a long time ago, you went around. Moby Dick was a gulpy.
I was at the table, wasn't around.
That is true. That is true. You're right. We had, to the chair, Christine as well as Yvette, we had science fairs. So it's some kind of way we could do, even if the science fair, if we could do is some of the schools, because two things I'm looking at with children, and we were talking about this earlier, Yvette, children have to see success every single day. So how do we get them to look at job opportunities like what you guys are doing, because they don't think about that, as well as the science of it with outcome measures to think about air quality. You see what I'm saying? So maybe a science fair in the rotunda of City Hall, or you can do one, as long as it can meet people and you're working with the council members as well to get, because, you know, we have to introduce young people to what you guys are, you know, what you're doing, Director.
So through the chair, I would love Christine and Yvette to talk about the Lego workshop program that they do that I mentioned that my 6 and 9-year-old went through through the Cleveland Public Libraries. It's incredible. They build air sensors out of Legos.
Get out.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So I don't want to steal too much of their thunder.
Through the chair. Yes, thank you. That is a fun project that we have. We started running those about 2 years ago. Our first one was in partnership with the Great Lakes Science Center for their summer camp. So what we do is we teach the students and the youth a little bit about air quality, and then they basically get a Lego book, and they have all the component pieces. They go through and they build a working air sensor. And we teach it as being an engineer for the day. And this is how an engineer goes through the iterative design process. This is how they learn about it. And the Lego air sensor, what we're using, it uses the same type of technology as this. This is called a purple air sensor. These are very common. This is probably one of the most known low-cost air quality sensor that's on the market. These cost about $300.
$300.
About 300. Well, when you look at our monitoring equipment, it's a deal.
Low cost.
Yes, very low cost.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. So the LEGO air sensors, they use that same technology that's in that. And then those sensors, the purple air sensors, we have a good number of those that we will loan out to schools to have a science project that might last a week, might last a semester. We actually just loaned one out to CMSD MC Squared, but at CSU, the 11th and 12th graders. It just went online last week. And so it's just one way that we do try to get youth involved. We had a LEGO air sensor workshop this weekend over at the Cam's Corner Library, and then we also have one scheduled on September 28th at PNC Fairfax. And this is open to anybody to come. We get about 10 people or so that just come and enjoy building the LEGO workshop. So we can do it within like an organized group, so whether that's a school, a scout group, an environmental club, or we've also, this year, we've been branching out to try to have them at public locations, and then just inviting the general public to come and join us at these workshops. They also, that's why I have this sensor as well. The sensor that I'm passing around now, the purple air sensor, that is meant to be installed. This is an air beam. I can pass this around as well. And that one is meant to be a mobile sensor. So that is something that we can take to either school groups or community groups, or to the chair, you mentioned you do a lot of neighborhood walking. So we could do a neighborhood walk where we are collecting information and we would see the air quality in real time.
You want to do that? We do the neighborhood event. We walk the neighborhood. I
Sure.
do a neighborhood walk. Grab my residence. I had your director walk with me through Glenville for 2.5 hours.
Okay.
That true, director? That's true. We walked for 2.5 hours.
Sure.
Yeah, through the neighborhood. So we could add this on our sensor.
Great, yeah.
You know, so we could look to see what's going on.
Trying to find some pictures here for the Lego workshop.
I'm not opposed to that. Just science is important, and it's important to for children to see it and get involved.
Through the chair, I just also wanted to mention that we also table at events throughout the city, and we have gone to career fairs and encouraging students to learn more about the work that we do here. And we recruited at least 2 new employees through career fairs last year.
Oh, snaps. That's good. That's really good. I like that. That's a good outcome measure. Think of brainstorm for me, Director, because we have to champion it as well. Maybe if we can, a health fair or kind of, you know where I'm going, to science fair that they see that I don't care about the credit piece. It could be the mayor, whatever, or city council. Yeah, the Department of Health.
That's right.
Outreach, so children can start thinking about careers in science
Yeah.
constantly. Maybe some youth could win, awards or a bicycle or something like that. And then what you do, you have the parents working with the children. Because one of the things, how do you engage youth is having their parents, if they have parents there, to work with them or their uncle or brother, and we all working together for the good of the whole. And then you have from the health department, a health and science fair forever. Even when we're gone, other people will do that. You'll see some people who will become a Dr. David Margolius or whatever the case may be, the science fair. And what will get parents to start thinking about air quality is, guess what? Their children. Their children. The same thing before Richard Starr was born, when we were pushing seatbelt safety, it was the kids saying, "Mama or Daddy, please buckle up. Please buckle up." You remember that?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Who was so through the children have building a relationship with them, and they start winning and thinking about it. We work with CMSD. I think we can have some good outcomes with that. Christine?
Yvette?
Yvette? I'm putting Christine there. Yvette? Sorry.
Through the chair, for general awareness, May is Air Quality Awareness Week, and so we've been wanting to do a poster contest. So what you're proposing is not out of scope. We don't know how big of it we could go, but we've been wanting to open up something for the city of Cleveland where we would have a topic and we would ask the kids to submit a poster, but we could do it as well as bringing all the different positions within the air quality and different health departments, because what gets parents interested is the health of their children. So asthma, anything that impacts the health of the children will encourage the parents' involvement. So I could see it being something where we educate both the parent and the adult if we did a big health and science career fair.
Be great engagement too.
Yes.
Because children will remember doing that with their mom or dad or whatever the case may be. That would be good. Good outcome measures for that. I mean, I'm there for May. Just tell me what we need. Okay? And I'm going to ask you one more question, then I'll yield. This, looking at air quality, Yvette, Christine, Commissioner, the stoves. Since so many children had to go to the hospital for RSVP, was it RSVP?
RSV.
RSV. I'm thinking about the proposals. You do RSVP, request for a proposal, RSV. And so is that correlated, you think, to the stoves? I know some cities and some states, these gas stoves, they were the issue. And they were connecting it to, I'm trying to get my words right, to asthma.
Yes.
I do know that, I believe it was just announced on Friday, Metro Health and some of their partners received a sizable grant to replace gas stoves with more efficient, much less emitting electric stoves. I haven't seen any of the particulars as far as eligibility or timing or anything else, but recognizing that very thing, the potential issues with some gas stoves in some residences. So that's a very timely thought and a very timely line of questioning. And again, I apologize, I don't have any of the specifics. I just saw the announcement that Metro, I believe, is going to be the lead
Yes.
agent in that pursuit.
Through the chair, there'll be $17 million was granted,
Right.
and they're
Wow.
going to be replacing 1,200 gas stoves with electric stoves, and there are about 6 cities that are eligible. The phone numbers are available. It's called Community Housing Solution is their partner. I'm not familiar with them.
Got you.
But
I am. They're
there
good. They're
there is
great.
a phone number available. So if you know residents, with them only having 1,200, encourage residents to call now because the phone number is available.
It's supposed to be meeting with me at 1 o'clock today, but you know where I'll be at.
Okay.
I'll call and I'll move it back.
Chair, I got the video up if you want to see that.
Yeah, we want to see the video. Let me finish with these stoves. So
Okay.
we are one of the city of Cleveland.
Cleveland.
We're gonna do 1,200 stoves.
Spread out over 6 cities, not just Cleveland, though. It's
All right.
some other suburbs, and East Cleveland is in that, too.
I'll talk with her and then I'll share it with my colleagues because it can't just be me. I have to share it with all the colleagues,
Right,
and
right.
then we'll find out what's going on with this. So if we had to do something in Ward 11 or 14 or 9 or whatever the case may be, so that we know. I'm glad you mentioned that to me. And we might be able to do 200 or 300. I know what they're doing. They're doing random sampling. So that way we know that, so you can measure it better. And so if we have to move forward with the policy, then we have the data to help us to move forward with the policy.
I think to be eligible as well, somebody in the home needs to have asthma.
Okay.
So not just replacing the stove, someone needs to have asthma in the home.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
'Cause a lot of children were sent to the hospital. And I know in New York, they banned a lot of gas stoves or moving forward.
It's a growing movement, yeah.
So we have to study it to get supporting evidence. So
I started with the city as the indoor air quality specialist, so I've been
Right.
studying this stuff for a while. And what is happening is that there are buildup of gas emissions in the home. And a lot of our older homes in Cleveland do not have the hood to vent the fumes to
Right.
go outdoors. And a lot of people don't know that they should cook with the door open windows open if they don't have a gas hood. So we're trying to reduce those emissions, which also will potentially reduce health problems.
Those are the things we need in our newsletters, because here's the thing. Our residents and, let's say Chris Harsh, council member, are down here to represent them. And anything we can find out that can benefit our residents is up to Councilmember Chris Harsh or Rebecca Moore for us to take the information back to them. And we can put it in our newsletters. So we need that. We need that so we can try to understand it. And with the phone number to Community Housing Solutions, we need that. That's very important.
I can
Christine.
look it up so you can
I mean,
have it on your
you're
record.
right.
I'm sorry.
Right. And and it's okay to reach out to me or you reach out through Yvette to the director to let me have it. We give it over to Mazzaline. We move it forward because that stuff is important. All right?
All right, I'm going to tee up this video because we've been
Yeah.
talking about it. So, Lego workshops, teaching kids about air quality. Just wait till you see how excited they all get. And definitely for kids in your wards, huge opportunity all over Cleveland.
You're going to get a plate logo and actually build an air sensor that is similar to what we would use in a laboratory efforts. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Abby and David, and they will tell you what we're going to actually do today. Hi, everybody. We have a quick intro to kind of what we do, and we're going to go over how the air sensors work and all the pieces and parts, and then you guys are going to get to, in those bags we have these kits, and you guys are going to get to dig in and do some building. So we're the Cleveland Division of Air Quality, and we're responsible for the enforcement of local Cleveland air pollution control code. So if there's any industry that gives up any type of air pollution, we make sure they have a permit, and we make sure that they're sticking within that permit.
What we're going to get into a little bit deeper here is a smoke detector. We should all have smoke detectors in our house. We should make sure they work. Very important. Our photoresistors on a different level than the rest because of this white brick you have right here, okay?
I think what you want to really focus on is just the shape of the tunnel that you're going to be building, but you can kind of do different pieces.
So I'm pushing air.
Oh, that's good. That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
Oh, I think we can go into the fan.
So you get the idea. But
Yeah, that's good
pretty
stuff.
Spectacular 5-minute video, and we do those workshops all over the city of Cleveland at all the local branches.
That's good stuff.
Uh-huh.
That's good stuff. I like that. As soon as possible, give me the information about the stoves.
I have it.
You have it?
Yes, for your records, through the chair, the phone number is 216-231-5815. The residents that are eligible are residents of the city of Cleveland, Euclid, East Cleveland, Garfield Heights, Maple Heights, Newburgh Heights, Warrensville Heights, Akron, and Canton. Community Housing Solutions, again, can be reached at 216-231-5815. Residents are able to call them directly to express their interest in participating.
All right, so we got it down. 231-216-231-5815.
Correct.
Okay. And I got it. So I have to call them anyway, and I'll get that to my colleagues probably tonight when we do announcements. I'll do that also, and I'll have the information. She'll give it to me, and I'll give it to my colleagues. Because if you only have 1,200, and it's not for just Cleveland, then we have to move fast on it.
Right.
And I want us to have the information, so I'll give it to my colleagues for later on today.
Thank you.
And keep me abreast with the stove. Something else I wanted to ask a question. But I can't make a statement and then I'll yield to my colleagues. We have to measure air quality, and you got all these lobbyists downstate for coal, and it's making our air quality bad. So we have to come up with sensors. We need to have more people to fight for people downstate, because the lobbyists, they're taking advantage. and they're fighting for the coal industries. And I'm not saying you got to regulate it, but they're fighting against and pushing for deregulation. And now we got to do what we have to do with air. That's not good. Air, water, lead, same thing with lead poisoning. It's because of greed.
Yeah.
It's greed. I'm telling you, it's greed.
Yeah.
And so we have to think of other systems, but it wasn't like that. And I saw it moving in this direction when I was a kid. Star U wasn't born then, but now it's here. He laughing because I always tell him that. Councilman Star, you weren't born. He's young enough to be my son. So I always tell him that. He's young enough to be my son. Yes, he would understand it. You know, I have children his age. Matter of fact, I have children younger than Councilmember Star. Younger. But my sister is younger than you are. I have a sister younger than Councilman Star. I do. And my other two daughters, they're younger than Councilman Star also. But my son is older. Yeah, he's 39 years old, but he's in that world. But you know, it happens fast. It happens fast, so we got to do what we have to do. But I want to yield to some of my colleagues. I know you, Genius, you have something to say.
I always get nominated. Well, thank you, and I wanted to give a shout out to the team because you of course came to Mound Elementary School to do one of those community meetings, and it was very well received. And you know, in Slavic Village, my whole ward really is a horseshoe around the steel mill, and so we get a lot of complaints and talk a lot about air quality. So I know this is a really hot topic. I guess I wanted to ask a little bit about both timeline and sort of community, like the end result, end work product. So now that we've graded and gotten our sense of where the sensors will be, what's the timeline to get them up, and what do you expect residents will be able to look to in the future to understand some of the data that we're gathering? Through the chair.
Through the chair to the councilwoman, thank you, and thank you for your assistance with the Mound Elementary School meeting. Our timeline is that there is some assembly that we still need to do on the sensors, and our monitoring team is working very hard to get that done, and then they will get out into the community. So I expect we should start getting those sensors out within the next several weeks. We'll start having them pop up. They're not all going to go, not all 30 are going to go out at the exact same time. They'll start coming online. And once we have some of the sensors online, that's when we'll make the sensor data available to residents. The outcome after we make the data dashboard available where residents can access the information, we have sensors available, our next steps in terms of like what residents can expect is that one, we're going to need to make sure residents are aware that this is a resource. And what we would like residents to be able to do with this information is one, we try to talk about looking at air quality like you do the weather forecast for the day. So if you know it's going to rain, you grab an umbrella or a raincoat. The same thing can be done like with these types of sensors. You can look at your own health and you can say like, yes, I am susceptible to pollution. I have asthma. My grandma, has COPD, whatever the case might be, and then potentially make adjustments that day based off of that information. But even more than that is that what it'll tell us is that if there is an area that a resident is concerned about and we start seeing patterns, that helps us with trying to identify and understand what might be going on in that neighborhood. There are some things that will be an enforcement response, like we might find that there are unpermitted facilities and they need to be permitted, or we might find that there are facilities that are permitted that are working outside of their terms. So there are potential steps that we can take when it comes to like the actual tools that we have now. But part of this process is we know that we want to start getting this data. We wanted residents to be aware of it, but we don't know what all the end product is going to be. Part of that is going to be determined by what we find by going into the neighborhoods. So that'll be kind of the next step. The other thing that I didn't mention in the overview is that we're also working through Better Health Partnership with local medical providers, looking at what are the treatments to asthma management. So we know that that ambient air contributes to asthma, indoor air quality contributes to asthma, but also how can families and how can medical providers better manage the system So there were a series of interviews that our health partnership did, and I did provide a briefing of those key themes that they found. But part of what we need to do is look at indoor air quality as a part of this process. And so Yvette and the indoor air quality team have started working on some potential programs that would be associated with this.
Fantastic. I think those are my main questions. I'm looking to my colleagues to see who else wants to ask something. Councilman Slife.
Thank you. And just out of curiosity, if we could kind of zoom out, we've seen all the old pictures of kind of Cleveland in the 60s, Cleveland in the 70s. So the impression would certainly be that the air quality has improved dramatically. Could you kind of comment on how Cleveland's air quality has changed? And I know that we still do rank on the higher side, higher than average compared to other metropolitan areas. Could you also sort of speak to why that is, what our sources of air quality issues today tend to be?
Certainly, I think we have seen dramatic improvements in air quality in Cleveland. I still talk with longtime residents who inform me they grew up on one side of the Industrial Valley or the other, and they could never see the other side of the Industrial Valley when they were growing up, and now most of the time they can. But our data show that the air quality has improved. It's not just anecdotal information. What has also happened is the public health side of the air quality data have shown that the amounts of pollution in the air, unfortunately, those levels where you see human health impacts, which is a fancy way of saying asthma, COPD gets agitated, people just can't breathe when they go on their runs or exercise. Those levels have also dropped. The average levels that we reach on fine particulate and ozone. Fine particulate just dropped. The federal standard just was lowered, strengthened, tightened because of the nature of those very, very fine particles and how they can go right into the bloodstream. So that's one thing we're struggling with. The other thing revolves around ozone. Ozone's really tricky because ozone is not generally a directly emitted pollutant. It's something that you have volatile organic compounds and you have nitrogen oxides that react together in the atmosphere in the presence of sunlight and heat. So it's not like there's an ozone plant we can tighten down on. There's some other specific things with our big, beautiful lake that cause us challenges in the springtime regarding ozone. And that's something we can talk about when we have some more time and have some more experts here to talk about that. It unfortunately gets pretty complicated. But ozone and fine particulate are probably most problematic pollutants. Lead, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, those pollutants are generally, we never see any concerns. Now we continue to monitor them, and should we see instances of concerns, we hop on those right away.
So thank you, and to expand on your answer further, kind of what are the sources of fine particulates? Is this the Industrial Valley? Is this the interstate? Like, kind of what combination? I think it's useful because I think people want to know what they could be doing kind of in their own light, but I think I'm also interested for some other reasons.
For fine particulate, we do see some contributions from burning of fossil fuels. So you're going to see some from any activity, whether even if it's burning natural gas But you're also going to see that from internal combustion engines, from diesel engines. A lot of our fine particulate sources are mobile sources, construction, off-road vehicles, marine sources, shipping. Unfortunately, things that aren't within our ability as a local air agency to control.
Okay. Thank you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Division of Air Quality has oversight over all of Cuyahoga County, or it's broader than just the city of Cleveland?
It is broader.
But it's not the-
correct,
it's
through the
not
chair
over-
to the councilman. You are correct in that, yes, we have a jurisdiction that goes pretty much throughout the county. We have one situation where we maintain a monitor in Lake County, but yes.
And through the chair, just to put a fine point on Commissioner Hearn's earlier point, so the number one contribution to air pollution in our region is not the industry, but it's the automobiles, those mobile sources. So what people can do at home is drive their the fuel-based car less often, order things locally instead of, things that come on big trucks and big ships. And use multimodal transportation, live near where you work, shop near where you live, all those things to reduce our dependency on gasoline fueled automobiles.
Thank you. So the 30 sensors, despite the coverage area being larger than the city of Cleveland, are the 30 sensors within Cleveland?
Through the chair to the councilperson, yes. Those will all stay within the city of Cleveland.
Okay. Will any be west of West 117th Street?
Yeah, sir, through the chair to the council, yes. We haven't finalized all the locations, but the map that I shared, there were some that were on near West Side. Mostly we're looking at like the Clark Fulton area because of some health concerns that are in that neighborhood.
Okay. So just bluntly, the map provided doesn't include the entirety of the city. It leaves off 56,000 residents who live west of West 117th Street. So I want to call that out. And I will say I ask these things because the park nearest to my home is adjacent to Interstate 90. The rec center is immediately under the end of the flight path, as well as public housing. I think that we have the second, Ward 16 has the second largest concentration of industry in the city of Cleveland. So I want to make sure that this is seen as, and I waiting for the rapid with a foundry across the tracks, you can tell. So I want to make sure that this is an area that is being considered, because I suspect there's air quality issues. I know that there's vulnerable populations. Sometimes people are surprised to find out that there's vulnerable populations. So I want to ensure that they're part of the conversation as well. So if it's, I don't know, this shows like a zones 1 through 4. I don't know if there's like a zone 5 that's not present on this map.
The zones that are listed on the map, those were the priority locations that we looked at initially with this phase of the project, based off of looking at the environmental and health data. However, I will say that this is the beginning of a project. We do have a couple other options that are out there for expanding and increasing the number of sensors that we have available. And specifically, that's what we're looking at are some of the neighborhoods that are not necessarily captured on the map.
Okay, so to restate that, to make sure I understand, in this phase with 30 sensors, we're not intending to include neighborhoods west of West 117th Street.
The neighborhoods on the map, yes, those are the ones that we are intending on focusing on initially in this phase.
I would like to receive the source data for how that determination was made, because bluntly, I don't think it's acceptable to exclude 1 in 7 residents. Thank you.
Do I have any other council members? You're making eye contact.
I can fill time if we want to keep talking about it.
No.
I'm reasonably okay. I thought it was curious that the map cuts off where it does. It seems like there should be a fifth section over here somewhere.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that too. Like, we know that it's not just industrial sources, but also highway sources, and so there's 3 highway. Yeah, I would be interested in that as well. Though I also trust the numbers, so like let's just take a look at it and understand, even if it's just so that we can justify it to the public. Councilman Starr, do you have anything? All right. Well, this is our entire agenda for today. Was air quality update, and I know the chairman had to step out for a phone call, so I think I'm going to take the liberty of adjourning us. All right. I get to use the big gavel. Thank you, everybody.